All right, y'all. Welcome to another very special edition of the Run the Jewels podcast show and vidcast. And Smart Rumple, King Jewelz here. We are locked and loaded for another episode this season. Shout out to all of our Smart Jewel listeners who are tuning in for today's episode. And also big up to our Wisdom and Twitter Space listeners that are getting exclusive access to today's episode. But if this is your first time joining us, the RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if you are a millennial, we appreciate y'all rocking with us. Shout out to our Gen Zers. Or if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for all of our baby boomers that are listening out there, but we appreciate y'all for rocking with us for our RTJ episode. If you're interested in being a guest on one of our future episodes for RTJ, fill out the link that we're putting in the comment section below. If you are a dynamic king or a queen that has a phenomenal testimony, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or a content creator that is trailblazing in your industry, we definitely have a few more slots for this season. We're filling up very quickly, but if you want to fill out our application interest form, feel free to click the link and one of our team members will get back to you and follow up after you fill out the interest form. You could also catch our previous episodes on all podcast streaming platforms that you listen to your favorite podcast or music artist. Just search for the Run the Jewels podcast and you'll be able to see all of our episodes and listen from season 1 all the way now to our current season that we are in. And so you can follow us also on Wisdom and Twitter Spaces to get exclusive live Q&A sessions with our guest as a VIP Jewel. Each of our episodes, you'll be able to ask exclusive behind the scenes live Q&A questions. And so shout out to our Wisdom listeners and our Twitter Space listeners that are listening in today for Q&A. Also, thank you to all of those who have been tuning in. If you have any questions for our very special guests, feel free to put them in the comment section below. And if you're on, again, Wisdom or Twitter, you could also come onto the stage. This is a live Q&A podcast show. And so if you have any questions that you want to have answered by my very special VIP guests, feel free to ask them in the comment section or to come onto the stage. Those are all of my housekeeping for today's episode, you all. We are literally diving into a very important subject matter for our episode today. And the episode title for today is Why Your Family Needs Estate Planning to Secure Generational Wealth. If you are someone that has never heard about the importance of estate planning and also how you should be aligning your finances and your moves, your chess moves that you're making on the board to secure generational wealth, especially if you are of Black and Brown communities, you are going to be in for a treat with my very special guest for today's episode. I actually met this king and this queen at the Black Homesteaders Conference here in Georgia, literally this year. And I was sitting in their workshop session that they were teaching a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, especially those who own real estate and own land and farms and ranches, how to set up their estate in order for their assets to be passed down correctly, and also how to even secure assets to be able to transfer to your lineage and also to your family and even potentially your business. And so if you are wanting to find out some of these key jewels, you definitely want to share this content and listen. And again, ask any questions on why your family needs to secure and also needs to have estate planning to have generational wealth. And so without further ado, I'm going to get ready to bring up my very special guest, Miss India Ali Ishmael. who are definitely going to be dropping a ton of jewels on how they help their clients and also help the community give much education and much thought towards estate planning. And so without further ado, let me introduce you to my very special guests, India and Ishmael. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. What's going on?
Yes, happy Sunday to both of y'all. Thank you again for taking time out of y'all schedule to rock with us. What we usually do is have our guests let people know where you're originally from, your hometown, where you're tuning in for today's episode, and why is this an important subject for both of you all to discuss with our audience about today?
Okay, I'll go first. I'm a proud DeKalb County, Decatur, Georgia native. Decatur, where it's greater. And we're streaming live from Decatur, Georgia. So that's where I'm from. This is a very important conversation just because, as Ishmael Shirt says, people die, assets don't, right? And so we have to have a plan for our stuff, for our family, and that's how you create generational wealth. And we're going to get more into that. But I want Ishmael to let you all know where he's from.
Yeah, my name is Ishmael Muhammad. I'm from the beautiful state of Texas, Oak Cliff, Texas, where I was raised. I claimed DeSoto before I relocated to this beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia, and married this beautiful Atlanta queen. So, yeah, I mean, and our story is basically what we're going to be sharing with you. And we get the chance to actually do what we love to do. And that's kind of like just share the tools that we use in our life, in our profession, namely trust-based attorney. Trust-based law firm. We get to kind of share that with our family, friends, and our community. So it's really not work for us. This is really just something that's going to be something that we love to do. And thank you, Jewelz, for inviting us onto the podcast and share this with your community as well.
Absolutely. We definitely appreciate y'all taking time again to share these important jewels of wisdom. I know when I saw y'all's workshop, I definitely wanted to either grab you, Ishmael, or India, and I was able to talk to India for a second to connect with you all, because this is a subject that we definitely have been wanting to have our audience hear about for the last year. We had a couple lawyers, estate planning lawyers that were in the pipeline, but they ended up canceling. So I thank you, India, and also you, Ishmael, for taking time to share this information, because this is an important subject when it comes to financial education, especially, and also generational wealth for our audience to learn about. And so what we usually like to do is start from the beginning. Like, tell us, India and Ishmael, about your background in growing up. Did y'all learn from your family or friends about the importance of financial education or even generational wealth? And even how did y'all get into the legal system and even wanting to be a valiant king and queen that is teaching our people why we need to learn these certain subjects in order to be ahead of the curve rather than behind the 8 ball? And so, like, what was y'all's background growing up, and how did y'all get into this industry?
How much time we got?
Yeah, I think it came from just necessity, right, and living life. So I'm a proud product of Oak Cliff, Texas. Anybody here at Oak Cliff in Texas, they know how I grew up, right? India's from Lithonia, Southwest DeKalb product, So those things are kind of synonymous with who we are and how we grew up. That's kind of like the culture, right? After that, it was just growing up, going through the system, high school, college. We both are basketball players in college. And then living life after that. After that part of it was, we had the fortune, we had our careers, and we were fortunate to meet at a time in life where we were mature enough to start looking at our life in a more mature way. And so we've made all the mistakes that, young couples or individuals will make when it comes to estate planning or starting an estate plan, or your family or parents not having an estate plan. And so now looking back on it with the knowledge that we have now, we see the importance of actually starting early with the family plan, right? Family strategies, right? You know, we call ourselves generational wealth strategists. And so we pretty much had the same experience as most people in our community has had. You know, that's with, you know, families, friends, et cetera, et cetera. But we've also been fortunate enough to have an experience in academia, wisdom, and the things we've learned with other clients, and going through our process of growing our law firm, that we want to share with our community now. And so that's kind of where we are when it comes to what we're trying to do. We're literally trying to make sure that what we've learned and what we went through, which is probably the same experiences that most of our families and friends have had, which we're trying to marry that with the knowledge and wisdom and the expertise that we've acquired by being in certain areas of law, finance, business, et cetera. And so now we can kind of marry those things too and kind of advocate for our community to implement strategies and plans for their generational wealth and financial freedom.
Yeah. You have anything you want to add to that, India? I didn't want to cut you off.
I have anything to add to that.
Yeah, shout out to all the hoopers too. I know I played ball and also did soccer while in school mostly, but yeah, we always gotta show love to fellow athletes and those who especially learned a lot from even athletics that taught us business savviness, which I know was going to be our next question. Like how has y'all both being athletes and especially being trained in competition and competitive play, like how has that helped you all as entrepreneurs and as businessmen and women? And like, what would you say to those who may be athletes of why they need to or think about going into business for themselves based off of their athletic abilities?
Right. I think it's a level of competitiveness that we have and always wanting to be better than others, right? Being the best, but then also competing against yourself. Because in entrepreneurship, you're really just competing against yourself. Like, okay, how do I do better than I did last month? How do I do better than I did last year? So it's a constant growth. And I think as an athlete, somebody that's always trying to obviously get better in your craft, you know, win a championship, whatever the goal is, you always are in the gym, you're in the weight room, you're conditioning. So it translates very well, honestly, to entrepreneurship and being a business owner. And also just as being a teammate, right? You have to know how to be a team player, be a coach on the floor. And we go at it like as teammates, because we're teammates too. I mean, we're teammates in marriage, but we're also teammates in business. And so, you know, if I'm not doing my best, he's going to let me know and vice versa. But we receive it for the most part pretty well because we're athletes. So we know it's coming from a place of love and support. And we just want the best. And the ultimate goal is to win, right? And so we do what we can to make sure that we're on the same page, that our goal is always the same, and that we're going to do whatever we can to get to that, to accomplish whatever that goal is. And that's what makes a successful team, a successful business owner, entrepreneur. And it's just that competitive spirit and just wanting to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely gotta be able to have that competitive edge in working, especially in the legal system, like both of you all, especially are helping in that legal structure. And so that's what we always like to highlight is that competitiveness also leads into how to secure generational wealth. Because y'all's presentation, I recorded maybe like 3 or 4 of the workshop presenters at the Black Homesteaders Conference that I met you all at, and y'all's was definitely top 2 out of all the presentations that I was able to either see or even record, because this is a subject that is not talked about enough within not just Black and brown communities, but just even at large, unless you're in certain families or certain let's say economic structures that even estate planning is not talked about even amongst middle to lower class, even to upper class. Some upper class families that I know don't even hear enough about how to structure their assets in, again, estate planning. And so, like, let's start from there. Like, how did y'all even want to learn for yourselves about estate planning? Did y'all get mentored by someone who was already in that sector? Did y'all read up on certain gurus that were already speaking on that side of the financial education? Like, how did y'all like get into estate planning, even wanting to learn for yourselves before y'all educate other people?
Right. So I've been practicing since 2014. And when I initially started, I was, practicing with another small firm, Black owned, and we did general law, right? So literally everything. And so for some of our family law clients or people who were in like a car accident, they might come and want an estate plan. And we just did like basic stuff like wills and, power of attorneys, like that, stuff like that. And it was really just something on the side. It wasn't a specialty of the firm. And then as this time progressed, we got our own trust done. And just your wheels start spinning, and then you've experienced in our own personal lives, a family member passing and seeing how that plays out in probate court, or, just getting clients that come to me, a family member passed, they didn't have a will, and just seeing how that plays out in probate court, and just learning more about trust, obviously seeing where we are financially, having a business. We have a 19-month-old baby. So I think just being educated along the way, wanting a solution, and then obviously just putting our heads together, and it's like, there's a better way to do this. And when we were going through our own trust, the light bulb went off, and it's like, we actually need to learn more about this. We need to become special, strategists and specialists in this. And we need to share this information. Because like you said, a lot of people do not know. Trusts are not new, right? It's not new information, but it's new information for our community. And that's have been our mission, to make sure we spread as much of this information as possible, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And then so it's misinformation, and then it's just people don't know. And that's been our mission, to make sure everybody can make an informed decision by being educated and having the knowledge about different estate planning tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I add to that. The pandemic really showed us, friends, family. That was the first time we had people, your loved ones, probably passing away at a very constricted amount of time. Like, it was very frequent. And so usually in our profession, you only see people passing away, every now and then. And then all the problems may come up with the estate plan, or lack of estate planning, or life and legacy planning. And so, then it's just like a isolated issue with the family. Then, it may be, a couple more years before somebody else passes away with those same issues. What the pandemic did is really constricted those things to a very frequent showing, right? And we saw friends and family passing away with no wills at all, estate plans that were not in order, chaotic. And we started seeing these same issues over and over again. And at the same time, we were, I think a little bit before that, we were going through our trust process and our estate planning process. I don't think we really understood what we were doing or what we were embarking on, but that was like the perfect combination of events to see, well, like, wills really don't work. People are really dying, and it's really chaos. And this is happening over and over again. People are losing wealth, their assets, they're losing also the grieving process after the person passes away. They lose their families as well, because the families are in turmoil, or it's drama and trauma, right? And so it's like, it has to be a better way. We were looking for a better solution to actually give our clients. And then we not stumbled on trust. We started looking into trust. And again, a lot of the same preconceptions about, it's for, people like, the rich, is for people with money, asset protection, people that are wealthy people. But once we really got into it, we saw it was really an answer for any situation, or a lot of situations that were harming our community. It could have been solved with a sound estate, a trust-based estate plan. And so we got to learning, obviously, we learned the way the trust is presented for us is it's literally a different language, honestly, because you're dealing with the federal law, IRS tax code, and state law. And also you're dealing with the families that have to digest this, understand what they're actually getting in the trust. And so the hardest issue was, and just going back to being an athlete, is learning how to communicate with your teammate. Not only is India my teammate, but our clients are our teammates as well. And the goal is for generational wealth. And so we have to learn how to communicate with each other. Also understand what a trust was and be able to communicate that to the clients and their families to reach that generational wealth goal. So the biggest issue wasn't learning about trust. I think our biggest hurdle was learning how to communicate what a trust can do and how it works, and then engaging the families so they're confident and understand exactly what they're getting, how it works, and how to use it for the benefit of generational wealth for their family.
Yeah, that's a major jewel that you all are hearing from India and Ishmael. Definitely when it comes to, they're dropping a ton of jewels already, you all, on the importance of having the talk with your family. I know when I spoke to you, India, and we'll definitely talk about that when I expressed to you my concern of having a ton of back and forth power struggles with some of my family members that are just not wanting to set up the family, and making sure that we not just have wills, but even have a trust outside of just taking the first step with the will. And literally, I've seen and heard of a ton of families that go through that power struggle of just certain family members not wanting to admit that they do not have all of their ducks in order, or all of their assets protected when it comes to, like you said, Ishmael, the cause of death. And so they're literally wanting to rely on their pride or the stubbornness to allow certain family members that will have to clean up some of the mess of other family members that didn't set up the family for success in the case of death. No one wishes that upon a family member, but if you have the knowledge and if you have the wisdom to be able to set up your family and not have them stress out and not have them worry, even when you're buried, or if you've been cremated and you're not here to have to deal with any of the other things of a regular person that's still living. It's very stressful on certain family members that have to still live their life while also sometimes cleaning up the mess of family members that have transitioned. And so I know we definitely want to talk more about that process of how you've heard from clients, those stressors, and also how you all have been able to walk family members through those stressors in having to be the ones left behind. But let's talk about when it comes to dealing with family and also dealing with even your clients, India and Ishmael, that may vent to you all, because I know y'all probably have been not just lawyers and advocates and consultants, but even maybe therapists, coaches, and shoulders to lean on, and others to just express themselves or even their frustrations to you all. Like what are some of the main things that you see families bring to you when it comes to the stressors of not having their estate or even their will or even their trust set up for their family to be successful? Like, what are some of those testimonies that you've heard from your clients when it comes to those stressors that they may have?
Yeah, I mean, the stress, we don't even have to highlight it. People have experienced that stuff in their lives already. And it's always in the back of everybody's mind anyway. Let's just take a couple examples, right? Let's say you are a young family that has a new child, and you are man, wife, husband, wife, new child born. It's already in the back of any man's mind or any mom's mind. What if something happens, right? So, or you might be, might be an adult child of aging parents. You're in the back of your mind, okay, do they have long-term health care? Do they, when is it, what is the day that I'm going to have to start taking care of them more and spending less time on my life, but spending more time on their care, right? Or is it when you're single and you're working or entrepreneur, you're working towards a goal? and you want to leave a legacy behind. You know, it's always in the back of everybody's mind, but we just never seek out the tools to actually plan the legacy. We live the life, but we never plan for the legacy. And so we always say your life will be as your legacy. The legacy will be as will be the same as the life that you lived, right? If you never take time out to plan for the future, and God forbid you pass away, the legacy is going to be in chaos, because now somebody else coming in trying to figure out everything that you wanted to do or wanted to happen with your stuff, or, you know, worst case scenario, the state probate court would decide for you. So these things, you know, we have to be intentional about it, because everybody's going to pass away, everybody's going to die, and we just have that clock into us internally. We know that, right? But we're not planning for it, and you know, you're not planning for your family members passing away. You know, you're not planning for the actual. It's really a real thing that we're going to die, and we don't know when. So if you don't plan for that, whenever that day comes, because we know not the day nor the hour, you know, your family will not be prepared for it. So the stresses alone really just is on an everyday basis, because we see clients all the time that come in and actually go through the consultation. They feel so much better because they now have a way to see forward through everything, you know, with their estate plan. So we know the stresses are always there. We're just not doing anything, you know, as a whole community, in mass, we're not doing a lot to actually plan for those things or have those conversations with professionals, right? I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah,
that.
so just in connection with what Ishmael just said, when we're talking to any potential client or our clients as we're, you know, going through the process, we understand it's a delicate dance. We both lost a parent. And so we know, like you said, you know, death is sure, right? But that we've gone through the process personally, right? And so we know it's a delicate dance. Nobody likes talking about their death. It's not always an easy conversation. And so the way we approach it with our clients, we make them feel comfortable. And that's the difference between our firm and a lot of law firms. It's not transactional at all. It's very personable. It's very friendly. It's very like family. And so we make the conversation easy. And that's always the goal, because it is not the easiest conversation to have. But when you feel like you're talking to a friend, you can let your guard down, and you trust that we're going to do, you know, the right thing for you and make sure you and your family reach your goals. It becomes more of a conversation, unless I'm spitting, you know, legal jargon at you. You know, that'll push a lot of people away. They actually want to feel heard and seen, because it is like I said, it is a delicate conversation. And we make sure that when we're having that conversation with any potential client, that they feel very comfortable and at ease. And like you said, can see the pathway through based on the strategies we talk about, based on just, you know, talking about their family dynamics, what their assets are, and just giving them some, you know, strategies. Do this, do that. This is what we will recommend. They feel a lot less stress. They feel more comfortable, and they are ready to move forward after having that consultation call.
Yeah, and I add to that. So most families, the life is stressful enough. So you have, you know, you have 1,000 things coming, bits of information coming to you from all types of places, right? So you have your job or your career or your business. You have your insurance that you probably paid for. You probably have an investment account, 401k. You're running a business, or you're trying to climb the corporate ladder. You're raising children. You have school events if you got children, and you have probably aging adults that you have to look after. So life is hard enough already. You're busy enough. Now, once you come into a meeting with us, the beautiful thing about estate planning, we get to pull all those things into one area, right? And we can discuss those things on a quarterly basis. And we can put headlights on those things as well moving forward. Meaning, okay, you know, if your parents are 60 years old now, in 10 years, they'll be 70. You know, at that point in time, you know, they might have some health challenges. So we want to make sure we're planning for that. If you have a 10-year-old now, 8 years from now, that child will either be going to college, army, or some kind of other career or vocation they'll be going into. So 8 years from now, we need to be planning for that, right? If you're close to retirement age yourself from your career, we need to start planning for that as well. So now we get to bring the life, your family life, and we call ourselves generational wealth strategists, is because we're going to give the family, well, the family's going to give us a strategy for them to actually achieve. And so now the family has a strategy, and we're just literally using tools and implementing and executing based on what the family strategy is. And so now the whole family knows what the strategy is. And you also have time stamps for things that could occur in 2033, 2043, 2053, and so on and so forth. So now you have a team around you and your family goals. It's not so stressful anymore, right? Obviously, we're going to take care of the inevitable. Somebody passes away. We got a plan for that. That's point blank, period. That's kind of like the legacy planning, right? But the life planning is really more important, because the way you live your life is the way your legacy will be. And so if your life is organized in a way around your estate plan or whatever family strategies that you have, your legacy will follow suit. So it's really, people look at estate planning as a backward looking or end of life type of thing. It's really not. It's really a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year, actually forecasting and problem solving for the future issues that you might have, because we all have done life before, right? We know, hey, if you got a little girl, she goes to public school, 17, 18 years old, she's going to the prom most likely, right? After that, she's going to college. And so you already know what these issues are going to be, or what these needs are, the needs that you're going to have. We just kind of plan for them, and the fact that we can plan for them through the estate plan, the whole family is involved at that point in time.
Yeah, that's some major jewels, like you all are both saying, to get the whole family involved versus just having one family member or the other. Y'all are dropping a ton of jewels on the importance of bringing the whole unit together so that everyone is on the same page. And that's even what I was going to ask as the next question. But Wisdom and Twitter, if y'all have any questions for, again, Ishmael or India, feel free to come on to the stage and ask during our live Q&A. But I was even gonna mention, when it comes to the aging parents, like I think I mentioned this to you, India, when we were talking after y'all's workshop, was like, why do you think so many parents, as they start to age, that they may not want to allow their children to come into the fold of, like, letting them know about what assets they have, letting them know if they do have a will, even being more upfront, as y'all both were alluding to, the long-term care or the long-term plan of their health, of who is going to be the head of the estate and things of that nature. Like, why do you think certain parents want to hold all of that information when they have their children that are wanting to learn, they're wanting to know these things, but they're just not wanting to release that information? And like, what advice would y'all give to those millennials like us or Gen Zers that may be wanting to push those conversations but are being stiff-armed with resistance from your aging parents?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think there's could be feelings of shame, right? Maybe they don't have their stuff together and they don't want to share that. Maybe feelings of, shame and guilt of not having their stuff together. Ego, right? And then a lot of our parents, they're just stubborn. It's just outright stubborn, right? They're not ready to let go, or they don't want to think about their death. So I just think it's a combination of those things, and it is a difficult conversation to have with parents who do not want to discuss it. But I would encourage anybody that wants to have that conversation, and you're doing it because at some point, if nature takes its course, your parents will predecease you. You want to make sure that, hey, it's not chaotic when it happens. You want to make sure things are in order, and you're really trying to do it to help them and help the family. I think approaching it with love is important. And kind of flipping the script. Because essentially when you do estate planning, you're doing it because you love your family. You're doing it because you want them to not, have the drama or the trauma. You want it to be as smooth process as possible. Of course, you're going to be grieving and all those other things. Why would you have a chaotic situation with the lack of a estate plan on top of all of that? And so I think it's just a matter of sitting them down, trying to have that conversation, with love, and explaining why you're asking these questions, instead of coming at it combative. There are a lot of parents, when they hear this conversation, they think you're trying to kill them off. And so it's like, they don't want to have that conversation. But I think just approaching it with love. And I think at some point, hopefully the parents will be, come around to having that conversation. But I think you have to have it. You have to have the conversation. And if they just never, want to have it, you want to make sure that you have your stuff in order. And anybody else around you has their stuff in order. And did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so it's a couple of ways we can approach that with parents or your aging parents, right? Usually I go with the grandchildren. Hey, mom, do you want to leave anything? Do you want to leave anything for your grandchildren? Do you want to make sure they go to Harvard, or they want to go to Howard, or they want to go to Morehouse? And so most grandparents will be like, oh yeah, I want my baby to go to. Okay, that's how you start the estate planning conversation. Okay, so you got to get an insurance policy. Do you have a retirement plan that you want to leave to your grandbaby? Because really, you really can't talk about. You just have to approach it differently based on the personality of your parents, right? Or it might be just a situation to where you show your parents examples of maybe somebody else that passed away in the stuff that the other family is going through because they did not estate plan, right? And there are plenty of examples right now of those things, right? And sometimes parents are saying, well, I don't want to. They know what they don't want, but they don't have any answers of what they do want, or any examples of what they do want. And that's where we come in. So it's a couple of ways to do it. And also, the first thing you have to do is do it for yourself, right? Once you do the estate planning for yourself, and then maybe bring the parents or grandparents in to show them examples of what you've done and why you've done it, now they can have a visual representation of exactly what they need to be doing. And so it always starts that way. And it's just plenty of ways to start the conversation. It's really just not about estate planning, because again, you got to think, most people have a different definition of understanding or perspective of what estate planning is. Again, most people think it's an end of life thing, when it's really not. The earlier you start, the more mathematically we can guarantee generational wealth. If you start earlier, it becomes literally a math equation. That's all it becomes. The more I put away, the more my children will have. The more I protect my assets, the more assets my children will have. It really just becomes, A to B to C. It's really not that complicated once you get over the actual plan itself. And we always say the estate plan is just the beginning. A trust is just the beginning. We really want to get into where we talk about trust strategies, family strategies, what the family will have 10, 20, 30 years from now down the road, and how we can actually use milestones and execute to get to those desired goals. That's where we really want our community to be. But right now, we're just having a struggle with actually getting people in plans, or we're not struggling, but just get people in plans. Then that's when the real work starts, after you got the plan, because that's the foundational piece of any generational wealth is a trust, really.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head right there, King. Because I'll say it for y'all, it's a struggle. It's a struggle in dealing. I work with clients even on financial freedom strategies, and they're struggling, even what we say in the South, with coming up with the concept of a will, or even the importance of having a trust, like you all said. And so I even wanted y'all, before we let y'all go shortly, is just to break down. I know y'all were giving out the literature and the checklist of things that people need to have, as you were alluding to, Ishmael, even from foundational learning when it comes to wealth building, or even establishing a strong financial legacy. Like, what are some of the foundational pieces that you would recommend for families, mothers, fathers, even those who may be single still and not married, that they should already start with doing, no matter if they're in their 20s or if they're in their 50s or 60s, on the latter end of their life? Like, what are some of the foundational things that you should already start to put into play before getting to the legacy piece?
Yeah, so first and foremost, you need a legal structure for your family, point blank period. You need a legal foundation. There's no two ways about it. The legal the laws are the strongest thing in this nation. So you have to have a strong foundational legal structure or foundation for whatever you put on top of it. And so that's family. Okay, family's first. Okay, we'll deal with family, right? So what's your family dynamic? What's your family personalities? Who are you trying to take care of? Is it mom, dad? Is it husband, wife, husband? Is it children, grandchildren? So you're going to touch probably 4 generations anyway. So how do you do this in a way that is not individually you that's doing it? Because you get tired, you can pass away, you may have other interests. And so a legal structure and foundation is paramount. We often say we like trust. Well, we know trust is probably the best estate planning tool that you can use as a family. People die, assets don't. Your assets will outlive you and your parents and your children. And the trust will outlive you, your parents, and your children. And so if you have that structure, which is a legal document, is a trust, and you have your assets that don't die in that legal document, which is a trust that's owned by that document. Therefore, now you can ensure that financial freedom is more of a possibility rather than a probability, right? So that's first. The legal structure is first. Yeah. Secondly, is the understanding of how to operate as a family with that legal structure. That's the most important piece. We continue to start over generation after generation. Everybody's getting a new mortgage. Everybody's getting debt for college. Everybody's getting a debt for a new car. Everybody's dying with no will, no estate plan whatsoever. So the assets that go to probate court, you're paying us to administrate the probate. And then probably 40% of the assets are lost because families are arguing and fighting about the assets in probate. And then when it comes out, it's probably lost, or whatever comes out is an outright distribution to whomever are the heirs. And they just go on, take the distribution. And we know they'll lose it within the next 36 months. It'll be gone. So every generation is starting over. So we know it doesn't work. So first, legal foundation, understanding the legal foundation, how to use it. And also then once you understand those things, your strategy, your family strategy, or personal strategy, whatever it may be, you can then start saying, how do I accumulate assets and how do I acquire assets in the future? Because now you know those assets will live in a place that will outlive you and be for your children moving forward. So yeah, I mean, we have a lot more to say. I can say a whole lot more, but those 3 things, understanding have a sound legal foundation. You have to have a sound legal foundation. Secondly, understanding your family dynamic. And third, really start to use a family strategy for the entire family or your loved ones, if your parents, your children, your husband. Once you get that strategy, everything else will sort of fall into place after that.
I love it. I love it. That's a excellent toolkit to put into play, you all who are listening, for the foundational pieces that Ishmael just told us that we should have in play, or either be having those conversations to put in play after today. Wisdom audience, this is your final call to ask any questions that you want to get answered of India or Ishmael before we let them go. But even I wanted y'all to end as we wind down in talking about the legacy of the family. We talk a lot about that on the RTJ podcast, especially on forecasting. What do you want your legacy and even your family's legacy to be for those that have children or heirs or even are married like you both are? And so, like, where do you see the legacy of not just the Black family, but of even families now that there's so much access to financial education, there's so much access to people like yourselves that are teaching on this subject of financial wellness and estate planning and generational wealth? Like, where do y'all see the future going when it comes to estate planning? And also even how have y'all seen some of the trends in our own communities, especially being that y'all are in Atlanta? Like myself, like, where do y'all see those conversations and also those pieces of education enhancing and transforming our communities in the near future?
I'll start. I think the conversation is trending, like you said, for the past, I would say at least 5 years. It's become very popular, talking about generational wealth, financial freedom, investments, real estate, all these things. And I think the trend I see is actually the talk is going to be estate planning, because you can accumulate however many assets, you can have how many businesses, but at the end of the day, we're all gonna pass away. Where are those assets going? Right? There's no generational wealth without a trust, period. So it's going to have to trend to where we're talking about estate planning. It's specifically trust-based estate planning. So I think that's where the trend is going, honestly. And I think if our community only just absorbs the information, but there's no implementation, we're going to be in the same spot we've been in. There's not going to be any change. It's just going to be, I heard it. It's great information. It's still trendy, but there won't be any change. We're going to still see, families having the chaos and the drama in probate court. We're going to still see gentrification happening. We're going to still see assets being lost. We're going to still see families in turmoil. So I don't think anything's going to shift unless we take it upon ourselves to take action. And taking action means getting with an estate planning attorney, right? Scheduling that consultation call, learning more, and starting that process yourself to get your own estate plan for you and your family. If you do not do that, you're doing your family, yourself, and your community a disservice. So we have to, you can't talk about it, you got to be about it. And I think there's been a lot of talk going on. And so, but if you don't have an estate plan and your goal is generational wealth, you're just talking. You're not doing anything. So it's time to actually take action.
Yeah, and I add to that, and that's great actually, but I add to that, what we see in our community often is a lack of knowledge, and a want for knowledge too from our community. And unfortunately, people will exploit that. Mm. And so I will underscore speaking to an estate planning attorney, first and foremost. There are going to be a lot of people out there selling courses about it. There's going to be a lot of people out there advocating for trust and the different things that trust can do that are, that has nothing to do with you and your family's well-being and establishing generational wealth at all. There'll be people that just will usurp the conversation for their own gain. So talk to or seek out a reputable estate planning attorney, interview a couple of them. And also if you want to follow anybody, any internet person or internet guru that's advocating for trust, check their credentials out as well. But we have to get to the point to where we are seeking out subject matter experts that are qualified in what they do. And they're specialists in what they do, or they have credentials for what they do. And I'm talking about credentials like from, undergrad, law school. There's no shortcuts to this, man. That's why we always look for the quick fix. There's no shortcut to this. And you don't want to put I'm not going to put my family's financial freedom and generational wealth into the hands of somebody that just started doing this as an influencer on TikTok or IG. You need professionals at this point in time when you're talking about generational wealth. How can you solve a generational curse without a generational plan? And if your plan is based on somebody that cannot show you how all the systems work towards generational wealth, why would you follow them into getting a plan for your family when they can't even go into any courtroom, go into any financial advisor, can't go into any tax specialist, CPA, and have a conversation about the forecasting or IRS tax code or federal and state law? It makes no sense to us. So I would just caution and I would challenge your listeners to make sure they, if not Attorney Ali, we do free consultations. It doesn't cost you a thing. We're not going to charge you for a course. We're not going to charge you for what is that? The webinar or the exclusive Twitter. We're not going to charge you for any of that. We have a free consultation because we want you to have the education, and so you can be empowered to make a sound decision for you and your family. So we just challenge you all to do that. If not India, go to somebody else that does this for a living, and they actually have errors and omissions insurance that you can sue them if they do something wrong, right? Or they have something to lose, like a license or the business that they're actually doing if they do something wrong. So that's kind of my tantrum. That's my rant when it comes to that. Just make sure you're dealing with subject matter experts when it comes to your generation, when you're trying to plan generational wealth for your entire family in generations to come.
No, I love that right there, especially as a final jewel as we wind down and get ready to end today's episode. You all dropped a ton of jewels on the importance of having that knowledge and even taking the step to apply that knowledge, like India said. But where can people follow up with you all before we say a quick blessing over you both to send you on your way after our episode? Like, what are the ways that people can stay in touch with you if they want to talk to you offline, if they even want to consult, like you were saying, Ishmael, for y'all services? Like, what are some touch points that people can stay in touch with y'all?
Right. So on all social media, I'm at Ask Attorney Ali. That's AskAttorneyAli. So that's Ask Attorney Ali on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Also, if you want to take down this number, you can text this number and you will receive a consultation link back. That number is 770-580-1122. Again, all consultations are free. We would love to hear from you and definitely wish you and your family much success, and please get an estate plan.
I love it. I love it. And Ishmael, you want to leave any parting words, King, before we say a quick blessing over y'all?
Yeah. So no romance without an estate plan. No romance without an estate plan. So here, this is marriage season. So we have a lot of marriages happening during the summer. So no romance without an estate plan. It's a must. But just follow up with this. That's all. We're a relationship-based law firm. We want to educate and empower before you make any decision about hiring us at all. And you don't have to hire us, but we're going to give you the information regardless. So that's pretty much all I want to say is use us as a resource. Consider our firm, our social media, and anything we put out as a resource for you and your family to reach generational wealth and financial freedom for your children and grandchildren.
I love it. I love it. And y'all follow up with India and Ishmael. Definitely they are about the people and also about the community. Very well spoken and knowledgeable, and also have a heart for the people again, which we know that's not the case with a lot of people who are in law and in the legal system, but they are very much so advocates for your best and also your family's best. And so I'm blessing over y'all and then let y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Thank you again for taking time out of y'all's schedule to rock with us today. And thank y'all for taking this opportunity to share these jewels with us today.
Thank you, Julian.
Thank you, Julian.
Absolutely. I'm going to say a quick blessing over y'all. Father, I just want to thank you for Ishmael and India. Thank you for their persistence, and also even I thank you for their knowledge and wisdom that they continue to sow on our people and even on those that just need to know the importance of generational wealth and financial education. I thank you for all of the clients that they've already touched, and even those that they may not have heard back from, that they planted the seed in order for it to be watered for their family's success, and also for that financial wisdom to, again, flow. We pray that you will send them more clients, more abundance, more overflow throughout the rest of this year. And may you continue to open up new doors, new partnerships, new opportunities than what they've ever seen or ever spoken of in their own conversations. And may you connect the dots to individuals that will take their business and also take them to the next level this season. I love you, Abba. I thank you for this time that you've allowed us to share today. I give you all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor. And it's in Yahshua HaMashiach, the Messiah, I pray and give thanks. Amen. I thank y'all. For taking time again, King and Queen. Wish y'all much success on y'all's journey. And definitely I'll be letting our audience know of all the ways they can support y'all and stay in contact with y'all in the future. Thank y'all again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julian.
Absolutely. Y'all have a blessed week.
You too.
too.
Bye.
Peace. All right, y'all. I'm going to do a quick Jewelz for Thought wrap up. Thank y'all for tuning in throughout today's episode. We were literally hearing a ton of Jewelz from India and Ishmael, who were speaking about the importance of estate planning and also financial education. And so you have to have the talk, you have to have the conversation, you have to be able to get the conversation about what is your family going to do in the case of a loved one's death, in the case of a loved one's transition, in the case of even your own transition. You cannot shy away from these conversations in this year, especially after a major pandemic that we all were able to survive, who are still here. You have to have the talk. You have to be able to have these conversations because, again, I've seen so many families jammed up with deciding to be lazy or to be against having these conversations that we know are going to happen. Death is inevitable. Our family members will not always be here. We will not always be here. And so we have to be able to spread the wealth and also spread our assets to the next generations to come. If you don't want your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren to start from scratch. And so this is a wake-up call, a clarion call to those that may be sitting on the sidelines and may have not had the talk even with their children. It's never too early to have a conversation with your kids if they're adults or if they're not adults, to again set them up for success by letting them know what assets do you have. What are your finances? What is your retirement plan? Where would you like to live when you become of age and being in retirement? Or if you're not able to care for yourself, who is the head of your estate? Do you have a will? These are simple questions, but they're very complicated when we make it complicated in order to not allow individuals to thrive even when you are gone. And so make sure you have these conversations. Do not sit back and wait for them to happen. You go out and make them happen. And so those are all of my final Jewelz for Thought for today. Thank you again to Ishmael and India, who were dropping all of the jewels of wisdom for us. If you've liked this episode and if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to sow a seed with us. There's 3 ways to sow. You can cash up a donation to SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can click the link in the comment section below to purchase some of our new Create, Shine, and Pray collection of merchandise, or you can click the link in the comments to become a monthly Patreon to support us with our podcast equipment and also with our podcast events and content creator events that we have throughout the year. And so shout out to all of our Smart Jewel listeners who have been rocking with us. But if you are interested in having your podcast become a reality or creating content and travel content, especially, we have content creator services that we offer for content creators and podcasters, whether you are someone interested in being in podcast show creation, on online conferences, if you need virtual live stream technical assistance to work the bells and whistles behind the scenes for your conferences or for your events, if you're someone that is an educator that needs virtual classroom solutions, webinar hosting, and also branding options, customized branding options, go to www.smartjewelz, JEWELZ, enterprises.org. That's www.smartjewelzenterprises.org to get started on your podcast or your content show today. But those are all of my Jewelz for Thought. You can follow our content and also our show for the Run the Jewelz podcast on any podcast streaming platform that you have access to. Just search for the Run the Jewelz podcast show and you'll see my face and see our episodes and listen to our episodes from season 1 now to our current season that we are in. And so we thank you all for rocking with us today for our episode of a masterful episode on estate